guys, welcome back to my channel. I just wanted to start this video off by saying thank you so much for 10,000 subscribers. I haven't had the opportunity to thank everyone yet here on YouTube, so I wanted to start off by doing that. When I started my channel, thinking about having 10,000 subscribers was always kind of the goal in my mind, so the fact that we've actually reached that is crazy to me, but I just wanted to say thank you for supporting me and subscribing and getting me to 10,000 subscribers. It definitely means a lot to me, especially right now when I am currently looking for a job after graduating. I actually had my graduation this week, which if you didn't know, I graduated with a Bachelor of Science Zoology degree and my graduation was on Monday, so I'm now officially a graduate and I am looking for a job, but doing YouTube kind of gives me something to focus on whilst I'm trying to find a job that is related to my degree. So thank you to everyone that has subscribed and is supporting me. Having something to do whilst I'm looking for a job and trying to figure out my life definitely helps, so thank you to everyone who has clicked that little subscribe button and made such a difference. So for today's video, I just didn't feel like I had it in me to plan a video. Usually I will sit down and plan a video that is either educational or talking about my own animals, but I haven't done a Q&A in a while, so I thought I would ask on Instagram if any of you had any questions, and I got a lot of questions. Some were quite frequently asked questions, so I'll try to address some of them. But I just thought that today I would do a Q&A because I haven't done one in a while and I don't know where else to film. Now you'd think that I would charge my phone before doing something like this, but I'm on 5%, so we're going to see how long that lasts. So the first question is from the Rat Fam, and they asked, how cuddly are your boys and would you ever get girls? Now the two boys I have now, Sunday and Sprout, aren't actually that cuddly. My previous two rats, Rolo and Scampy, would sit down on your lap and sit with you and cuddle with you for quite a substantial amount of time, but these two haven't quite got to that point yet. Around about 6 months they will start to calm down, but these two are absolutely crazy. But I don't really mind because I find them really funny to interact with and hang out with. But my two boys aren't actually like the stereotypical cuddly male rats that you expect to get, but that doesn't really bother me, that's just their personality. And maybe when they're older they will get a bit more cuddly. And the second question, would I ever get females? I don't want to outright say no, just in case in the future I do and people go back to this video and I'm like, you said you weren't going to get females, but females generally are a lot more hyperactive and a lot more busy than males, so they tend to not be as cuddly, even though my two boys don't really fit that stereotype. I'm not really that interested in getting females. They are prone to a lot more things such as mammary tumours as well, which just worry me, and I just don't really have as much interest in owning females as I do with males, so probably not. The next question comes from Cara Lawrence and they ask, are you thinking of getting any reptiles at some point in the future? I would love to own reptiles and amphibians in the future. I've always wanted to own them, and I think I've spoken about this before, but it's never just been the right time. Either my family when I was younger didn't let me, which I'm kind of glad because I don't think I was as responsible as I should have been to own reptiles. But now that I am an adult, I would really love to own reptiles. The first thing that I probably will get and that I really want to get is a leopard gecko. I've wanted a leopard gecko for about 10 years now. I kind of know exactly what I want my leopard gecko to look like, so I think that is going to be the first reptile that I get to kind of enter the reptile world. Corgi Hamsters asked, who was the easiest rat to teach tricks? Hands down, Sprout is the easiest rat that I've ever had to teach tricks. Even though he's a handful and he's really energetic and excited all the time, sometimes it can be difficult to catch his attention and keep his attention. He learns tricks so fast compared to my other rats. In about 15 minutes you can teach him any trick, which is just amazing to me, but he's so high energy and so intelligent that he's just so easy to teach, so definitely Sprout. The next question comes from Rats Are People Too, and they asked, how do you deal with the loss of pets? And to be honest, I don't think I really deal with it the best way that you could, but everyone obviously deals with things differently. But I used to be a massive crier, like I would cry leading up to the animal dying and I'd cry for weeks afterwards. But I think growing up and dealing with a lot of animals dying through my childhood and through my life, I've kind of learnt the best way to deal with it for me. And I think the way I deal with it is just to look back at the time I did have with them, look at pictures of them, edit like a memorial video even if it's just for me, and just look back at the memories I had with them and know that they kind of outweigh this week or a couple of weeks that I am going to be sad, and just kind of appreciate their life. I think that's how I deal with it. And obviously I give them like a burial and say my like goodbyes and everything, but yeah, I think that's how I deal with it. Gwyn_M asks, would you ever move anywhere else in the world? Before I went to uni, the funny thing is I actually wanted to move to South Korea. I wanted to do something like being an English teacher there. Funny thing is I'm actually wearing a sweatshirt that says Seoul on it now. So that was my life plan. I would have moved there and I was up for the idea of moving there, but then I met my boyfriend and I didn't want to leave the UK and like things changed and everything. But I think if there is one country that I would move to, it would be Canada, because they have free healthcare like they do here, so that's nice. Don't think I'd ever want to move to the US, but I definitely think Canada is probably a really nice place to live, and that would mean that I was closer to Victoria Rachel. Margarine asks, what is your favourite rat breed / colour? My favourite variety of rats is probably a jumbo black-eyed Siamese, or any rat that has a blaze down the middle of their face. I'm like a sucker for rats that have really cool markings, so they're probably my favourite varieties. The lighting just got so much brighter in here, I'm sorry. Teddybear729 asks, how do you convince someone to improve their husbandry? Now this can sometimes be a really tricky thing to do. It's hard, especially if there's someone that is close to you and you don't want to upset them, and sometimes a lot of people will put their pride before their animal's well-being and they won't want to take on board advice because they're either embarrassed that they're doing something wrong, or they just don't want to think that something they're doing could actually be harmful to their animals or not necessarily the best thing for them. I think the best way to go about this is to just lightly approach the topic and send them resources, send them YouTube videos on how to care for that animal and other resources that say why it's good to care for that animal in a specific way, and just lightly kind of like push those resources towards them and kind of hint that maybe they should take some of those ideas on board. But I do appreciate that it can be really hard sometimes to change someone's mind about the way that they care for their animals. Katie asks, can you ever join in with your rats play fighting, boxing and sitting on each other? I actually join in with my rats play fighting all the time. If you tickle them on the back, my boys will like run away and then come running back and kind of like tackle your hand. And I do play with them like this all the time and I find it really funny. Some rats may not play with you, they may just prefer to play with their other cage mates, but both of my boys definitely do like to play fight with me and will tackle and like not bite me, but just like pounce onto my hand and like pin it down, which I find quite funny. Shannon_Stat asks, is there anything no one told you when getting baby rats? Now I had to think about this, and I think the only thing that no one told me, or the only thing that I didn't discover through doing research the first time when I first got my rats, is that baby rats do require a bit more protein when you bring them home. So the normal mix or whatever you're feeding them may not have enough protein in it to support your rat's growth when they are growing and when they're a baby. So you'll usually bring rats home about 6 to 8 weeks, and you will want to supplement them with protein. So you can do this by giving them things like chicken or egg, protein sources, just to boost their protein levels in their diet when they're growing as babies. Jessica's Animal Friends asks, how awesome am I? You are very awesome, Jessica. And what frustrates you most as a pet tuber? I think the thing that frustrates me most is wanting to get across some really important messages and sometimes feeling like your messages aren't being received. Not just because I'm a smaller channel, but sometimes the videos that I think are the most important and things that I want people to know about owning rats, for example, such as not getting them from pet stores and not housing them alone. Sometimes those messages just don't get across, or sometimes they're ruled out by bigger voices that sometimes have a different message to the one that you're trying to spread and give awareness to. So I do find it really hard sometimes when I feel like I'm having to repeat myself with basic things such as not housing rats alone. That's something I'm really passionate about, but every couple of comments I will still find someone that doesn't know and hasn't done their research, and I just find it really sad. Sometimes it does keep me awake at night thinking about how many rats are out there and not receiving the proper care, and knowing that there's not too much more I could be doing about it, and just feeling frustrated that I can't spread the message a lot more than I'm already doing. But hopefully I'm doing my best and doing enough and helping at least a couple of people. But I think that is the thing that frustrates me probably the most about PetTube, is trying to get a good message across and maybe it not being received. Maybe some other videos that I just like threw together, such as like cage tours and stuff, they tend to be a lot more popular than videos where I'm trying to get across a really important message, so that's probably the thing that frustrates me the most. Animal Pet Lover 21 asks, do you plan to get any other pets in the future? I plan to get some, not a lot, but some other pets in the future. not now because I'm waiting to move out of my family home to move into my own home to be able to responsibly get more pets. Right now I'm just waiting. I am getting 2 new pets, which I'll talk about in a minute, but I just want to wait until I have my own space and my own home to get any more animals. But there's definitely a lot of animals I want to own in the future. As I mentioned previously, I would really love to have a leopard gecko by next year or during next year. And there are a couple of other animals I'd really like to get. I'd love a group of female mice, but that won't be until I don't have Fig anymore, so there's definitely a lot of other animals I want to get. Kai_327 asks, were there any other names for them you were thinking about before you got your rats? Now when I was getting my first 2 rats, Scampy and Rolo, I had the name Scampy picked out and then I was looking for a name to go with it. Everyone was suggesting the name Chips, but I didn't want to be too stereotypical and have Scampy and Chips, so I was looking for another name and I didn't quite know what my rats were going to look like at that point, so I picked out the name Scampy and Nugget, as in chicken nugget. But then obviously when I picked out Rolo, he was a dark chocolatey colour, so that's why I changed the name that I picked to something that would better suit him. And then when I was getting these 2 new boys, they're not new anymore, I keep calling them new, but it's because they're after my first rats. When I was getting them, I knew that I wanted one called Sprout, and then I was trying to think of another food related name to go with that, and I was dead set on the name Pudding, but I kind of wanted a creamy coloured rat for that. But I ended up with Sunday, so I had to go for a different name. Mr. Stacklebox asks, what is your favourite trick to teach rats? Definitely my favourite trick, and probably the one that I would suggest to start with first, is teaching your rats to spin. I do have a really old and kind of cringy video on how I teach my rats to spin using a clicker, and that's probably my favourite one because they just pick it up so quickly. _FrankieW_X asks, will you be getting more rats? If so, when? I have spoken about this before, but it's been a bit of a while since I first mentioned it, and I think a couple of people have forgot that I am actually adopting 2 rats very, very soon. It's been a long wait, but they had to stay back a bit longer than I was expecting. I am getting 2 new rats in October, and I've known them for pretty much their entire lives, but I will be rehoming them to my house and to live with my boys, and I'm really excited to get them. They're coming home at the end of October, fingers crossed, so hopefully you can get to see them soon, but I absolutely love them and I've known them for most of their lives. I know their personalities, so I'm really hoping that they fit in nicely with the 2 boys I have now. Gingerboy at long last asks, do you think you'd ever be interested in breeding rats? Now I have thought about this in the past, but there are a couple of reasons why I don't think I'd want to breed rats in the future, and I think the first one is the fact that I'm not really interested in owning females, and obviously to be a breeder you'd have to have males and females, and being a breeder just takes a lot of work. I do have a background in genetics. I've done a lot of genetics courses during my time at university, so I do have a good understanding of genetics, which is important when breeding rats, but it does take a lot of time and energy and money. A lot of people think that breeders make a lot of money and profit from what they do, but a good breeder will usually put everything they have into the care of their rats. And it does take a lot, and I definitely commend breeders out there that put all the effort into improving rats as a species, but I'm not sure if it's something that I would ever be able to do because I have to dedicate a lot of time and space to rats themselves, and there are definitely other animals I'd like to own in the future, and I think if I decided to become a breeder then I maybe wouldn't have time for some of those other animals, and emotionally it also takes a lot to be a breeder. You have to deal with a lot of quite difficult things, so I don't think I'd want to breed rats in the future. There's definitely a lot of varieties that haven't been bred a lot in the UK that I would definitely like to see a lot more, but I'm hoping that other people will dedicate their time to breeding them so that I can own them instead of deciding to be a breeder myself, because it is hard and it does take a lot of time and effort and patience. Antisocial Corgi asks, what is your dream pet? Now I don't know if this classes as a pet, more so probably a farm animal, but I'm obsessed with alpacas and I have been for a very long time, and I'd love to be fortunate enough in the future to have enough land to support alpacas and have alpacas, which is probably not a very realistic dream, but I just am obsessed with alpacas. So yeah guys, that is it for today's video, otherwise this video is going to get really long. Hopefully you enjoyed listening to me answering some questions. I will be back with my regular uploads very soon, but in the meantime don't forget to subscribe to see more animal related videos from me, and we'll see you in our next video. Bye!